So you've mastered the basics of overlay mosaic crochet. You've learned how to turn a chart like this into a sample like this. And currently your back is a series of stripes. Now what would you say if I could teach you a new technique that would mean that the back would have the same design as the front, albeit in inverted colours? Now, if overlay mosaic crochet is new to you, please check out this tutorial to master the basics first. But if you have already done that, let's crack on and find out how to make your chart reversible. So this is what your chart looks like when you start. You've got a series of A's, B's, pluses, X's, blank squares, and hopefully by now you know what all of these mean. Now for starters, you're going to ignore the first 3 rows. And I don't mean don't crochet them, because you do still need to crochet them, but they're going to be exactly as you would normally do for standard overlay mosaic crochet. The magic starts on row 4. Now in order to make your pattern reversible, you're going to do a new stitch above every X. So just for demonstration's sake, I am going to mark these with a circle. So anything that goes above an X becomes a circle. And I'm just going to fill it in for the first few rows, just so that you can see exactly what I mean. Okay, so on rows 4 and 5, if it's a blank box above an X, I have drawn a circle. Now let's find out what to do when you meet this circle. Now, as I've already told you, the first 3 rows are just standard overlay mosaic crochet, and so I have already crocheted rows 1 to 3. So we're going to take our colour for row 4 and attach it in the usual manner. Do our first single crochet and then look back at our chart. So as you can see here, the very first stitch on row 4 after your single crochet is one of our circles. So this is one of our reversible stitches. So instead of it just being a standard back loop only single crochet, although we are going to start it that way, we're going to go through the back loop and pull up a loop as if we're going to do that single crochet. We're then going to yarn over, turn our work forwards, go into the back loop that matches 2 rows down, and we're going to pull up a loop. So we now have 4 loops on our hook. We're then going to work it as if it's a double crochet. So we're going to pull through 2 and then pull through 3. That will now have created what looks like a double crochet on this side, but a single crochet on this side. Next, going back to our chart, we have a front loop only double crochet, back loop only single crochet, and front loop only double crochet. So let's do those now. So front loop only double crochet, back loop only single crochet, front loop only double crochet. Then we have reached another of our circle stitches. So just to demonstrate it again, you're going to go through the back loop and pull up a loop as if you're going to do a single crochet. You're then going to yarn over, go into the corresponding stitch 2 rows down, so just here, yarn over and pull up a loop as if you're going to do a double crochet. So going through 2 loops and then going through 3 loops. And then we're going to carry on in the same fashion until we reach the end of the row. Now you can see I'm at the end of row 4. Now the front and the back will always be set off by 1 row. You'll see what I mean by when we have to add a few extra rows at the end. So you've got the start of your little boxes or squares forming here. And if you turn it over, you'll find that you have these blue squares, which are the bottom here. So it is going to be a little bit off. So moving on to row 5, I've done my first single crochet, and my next stitch is a front loop only double crochet. Nice and easy, standard overlay mosaic crochet. Then we have one of our reversible stitches. So it looks like a back loop only single crochet, but you're going to drop down at the back as well. Then we have a normal back loop only single crochet. Another one of our reversible stitches. and then a front loop only double crochet. Now, exactly as you would hope, these stitches above the box look like regular back loop only single crochets, but when you tip them forwards, you can see that you are building up the sides of that square for the back. Let's reach the end of row 5 and I'll show you what I mean. So now you can see that after row 5, we have these lovely little squares with our blue row over the top. And if we flip it over, we have just finished forming the little boxes in blue, and we'll very soon have a purple row over the top. Keep going until you reach the very top of your chart, and then I will show you how to do the extra few rows. So when you reach the end of your 19 rows, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. So on this side, you can see that the design is in the purple colour and the blue is the background colour. Now, courtesy of using your reversible stitch, if you turn it over, you will see that you have the design in the blue colour and the background is purple. Now, as I mentioned, once you are finished, you're not quite finished. So technically the chart for this front side has ended and you have done your 19 rows. You've started and ended with this nice blue colour. You can see a separate row above this last row of squares. If you turn it over to the reverse, yes, you start with a blue row and technically you've ended with a blue row, but your squares are kind of right up to the edge. So in order to fix that, we do need to add a couple of extra rows. So if you go back to your chart, you'll see that on this very last row 19, you had some X's. And currently there are no circles above those X's. So you need to put those in now. So we're going to attach our yarn, do our single crochet, and then start working. So we're doing this imaginary row 20 at the top. The first stitch in row 19 was an X, which means we need to do a circle. There we go, there's my little circle. Then the next 3 stitches were not X's, and so are just regular back loop only single crochets. So you've now worked your imaginary row 20. You've got this extra row of purple, which is great in that you now have a top row so that your squares are not right at the edge. However, your bottom and your top on either side still do not match. So you need to add one final row. So for this imaginary row 21, you've attached your yarn and you're going to do a slightly different stitch to everything else you've been doing so far. So you're going to pretend you're doing a front loop only single crochet, and that you're going to put your hook through the loop and then you're going to pull up a loop so you have 2 on your hook. Then you're going to go through the back loop of the single crochet behind it, pull up a loop so that you have 3 loops on your hook, and then pull through all 3 loops. And you're going to do that in every single stitch along until you get to that final one, which is obviously a regular old single crochet. I'll see you at the end of the row. And there you have it. At the end of your imaginary row 21, you have managed to start and finish with a blue row, have your design in the middle, and then if you flip it over, again, you started in with a blue row, but it's nice and symmetrical to each other with your design in the middle.